Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Cobern, and today's episode is the Los Angeles Rams draft class. Starting with the first pick of the draft, Gerald, Everett, tight end out of South Alabama. When it comes to his production, he scored 85.64 in terms of passing yards market share production, which is very good. Hits all the marks that you need to hit when it comes to All-Pro and Pro Bowl outcomes when it comes to his production. But his issues kind of start with just physical characteristics. He is not a prototypical Pro Bowl / All-Pro type of tight end. He doesn't have the height. He doesn't really hit the height thresholds when it comes to All-Pro / Pro Bowl tight ends. And he also doesn't hit the hand size threshold when it comes to All-Pro / Pro Bowl tight ends. But he does have impressive athleticism traits, scored 87.48 in terms of explosives for his size, 78.86 when it comes to speed for his size, at 77.24 when it comes to flexibility for his size. He hits all the marks that you really want in terms of this H-backy type tight end. But my only issue with Gerald Everett is just that these H-back tight ends, these sort of split type tight ends that don't really hang out in line that much, they just kind of struggle, to see the field and to get production. There's been many guys like even Vernon Davis who kind of struggled a bit to really get tons of production, So it's just one of those things where you're looking for the supersized tight end types, and those are the guys that end up being consistently high quality players because they're easy mismatches. They have size mismatches on top of athleticism mismatches. And Gerald Everett is a mismatch when it comes to his athleticism, and he has shown to be able to be a dominant player when it comes to his production. But he doesn't quite have the mismatch ability to where when his athletic traits start to go away, that he's going to be able to make up for that with his other sort of, traits. So that's really the only issue, is that in terms of mismatch ability, he is a mismatch. He can be productive in that role. But when it comes to being consistently dominant for a long period of time, that's not necessarily something that Gerald Everett looks like when it comes to just his physical characteristics. And then we come to the next pick of the draft in terms of Kupp, wide receiver out of Eastern Washington. When it comes to his solo tackle market share production, he scored 80.34 out of 100, which the only thing I can really say is that is a good score when it comes to FBS production. Obviously, that's 5-time Pro Bowl level when it comes to FBS production. But this is actually Kupp when you compare him to FCS players. And these are all the FCS wide receivers that have become high-quality players, or at least starters, in the last 30 years. There's actually, around 30 years. So since the 80s, this has kind of been what it's been like in terms of that position. And unfortunately, Kupp doesn't really hit high-quality outcomes. He hits starter level area of production when it comes to the FCS level, but he doesn't quite hit the Terrell Owens or the Jerry Rice, or he doesn't hit that level of production for his level of competition. So at the very least, you have a long-term starter based on his FCS production, but you don't quite have a special player, which is backed up a bit when you look at his age. His age score was 7.16, which is really, really old for a player. And when it comes to athleticism, he scored 22.34 in terms of explosives for his size, 27.97 in terms of speed for his size, and 82.57 when it comes to flexibility for his size. Based on that profile, he's essentially a slot receiver. This is Kupp's athleticism compared to Brian Hartline, just as a sort of comparison in terms of athleticism skill sets, and a guy who's kind of similar to him from an athletic standpoint. So basically, Kupp has the ability to become a long-term starter, and especially to be a decent slot receiver. But when it comes to high-quality outcomes, when it comes to becoming a multiple Pro Bowl player, to becoming a multiple All-Pro player, based on his production at the FCS level, based on his age, and also based on some of his athleticism traits, and just his overall profile, when you look at it, that it's going to be less likely that he becomes a high-quality player and more likely that he just becomes a long-term starter. So that's just kind of how it is with Kupp when it comes to his data. And then come to the next pick of the draft in terms of John Johnson, defensive safety out of Boston College. When it comes to his production, scored 65.85 in terms of solo attacker market share, 70.64 in terms of interception market share, and 89.09 when it comes to pass deflection market share. All those marks are fairly decent. They don't really hit high quality outcomes when it comes to just solo attacker market share. But he does have above average production, which is good, and he also has above average athleticism. He scored 75.18 in terms of explosives for his size, 53.61 when it comes to speed for his size, and 88.97 when it comes to flexibility for his size. All those marks are fairly decent. The speed mark isn't as great as it needs to be, but it's okay. So John Johnson, he has starter level production in terms of a safety with starter level athleticism traits. And I think that that's what I would feel comfortable projecting in terms of, from a data perspective, is that he can become a long-term starter, and I think that's the most likely case with John Johnson when it comes to his overall profile. Then we come to the next pick of the draft in terms of Josh Reynolds, wide receiver out of Texas A&M. When it comes to his production, he scored 63.27 in terms of passing yardage market share production, which is starter level. It doesn't really hit high-quality areas. It doesn't really hit Pro Bowl level, a 5-time Pro Bowl level, or All-Pro level. So it doesn't really hit those areas, but it does hit starter level. And based on his athleticism, he scored 45.85 in terms of explosives for his size, 32.03 when it comes to speed for his size, and 59.28 when it comes to flexibility for his size. All those marks are, again, very similar to Cooper Kupp. He is not exactly explosive, not fast, but is very flexible, and also in terms of body control, stuff like that. I think the best case scenario for Josh Reynolds is that you have a long-term starter, but he's someone that I don't expect to have high-quality outcomes like Pro Bowl, like All-Pro, based on just his production and also based on his athleticism traits. And he's another guy who would be a better fit as sort of a slot receiver than as a true boundary corner, just like Cooper Kupp. So it's a little bit of a redundant pick in terms of wide receiver athletic skill set. Then we come to the next pick of the draft for them in terms of Samson Ebukam, the outside linebacker / edge, Sam linebacker type from Eastern Washington. When it comes to his production, he scored 70.25 in terms of solo tackle market share, 69.66 in terms of sack market share, 78.82 when it comes to tackle for loss market share. All those marks are fairly decent when it comes to Samson, but there are some issues in terms of level of competition. These are good marks if he was playing at like a SEC program, but he was playing at Eastern Washington. And these are the three big sort of examples of players from that level of competition that have at least broke in and become something interesting in Jared Allen and Junior Gillette from the FCS level. And Samson's production just doesn't really meet those players when it comes to that perspective. But athleticism-wise, he does have some intriguing things. He scored 88.51 in terms of explosives for his size, 81.17 when it comes to speed for his size, and 73.11 when it comes to flexibility for his size. He has impressive athleticism for the Sam linebacker position. And I think his production is a little scary for his level of comp. But I think based on his athleticism and just based on his age as well, he's 89.16 in terms of his age score. I think that a likely scenario for Samson is that he can become a long-term starter for the Rams as a Sam linebacker. But I would worry about him becoming like a high-quality player based on his overall outlook from a production standpoint. And all those other sort of factors. So that's the only real thing that kind of limits Samson, is that he's more likely a starter than he is a high-quality player based on his overall profile. Then we come to the next pick of the draft in terms of Tanzel, smart defensive tackle out of Tulane. When it comes to his production, he scored 92.12 in terms of solo tackle market share, 80.09 when it comes to sack market share, and 85.84 when it comes to his tackle for loss market share. All those marks are very good from when it comes to his overall production. His only issues really come when it comes to athleticism. Only scored 37.30 in terms of explosives for his size, 28.76 in terms of speed for his size, and only 65.36 when it comes to flexibility for his size. That overall profile is not elite. When you just look at it from the perspective, he doesn't have elite explosiveness, he doesn't have elite speed for his size, but he does have pretty decent flexibility. Which is why I think the likely case for Tanzel Smart is that he becomes a long-term starter as sort of a 3-tech. And I think that's kind of what you're looking at with him. I think you're looking at a guy who can become a backup for Aaron Donald, rotational kind of guy who can come in and kind of do some interesting things and maybe eventually become a starter if Aaron Donald doesn't play there anymore, which would be kind of weird, but I think that's kind of the best case scenario for Tanzel Smart, is I think he's going to be kind of the backup for Aaron Donald, the rotational guy for Aaron Donald, and that's kind of what his future kind of looks like, at least on the Rams, until he goes to another team and gets opportunity on another team. And then we come to the next pick of the draft in terms of Sam Rogers, fullback from Virginia Tech. The only thing I could say about him is I don't do fullback metrics. It's a position that there's not a lot of success. Like their fullbacks don't usually get drafted that much, and there also is just a sense that there is lots of stuff lacking in terms of their overall sort of like it's a weird position. So in the modern NFL, like every team doesn't have a fullback anymore. So I don't really look for fullback or look at fullback data and look at fullback metrics yet. I'm working on it, but it's just sort of a project that keeps getting pushed back because it's not as important as other projects I've been working on. But at the very least, all I can really say about Sam Rogers is that because I don't really have any data to compare him to anything, you just have to sit with the fact that maybe he can become a starter just because, hey, fullbacks can become starters. So that's the basic thing in terms of Sam Rogers. And then the last pick of the draft is Ejuan Price, defensive end / outside linebacker. Maybe that's how they use him. I'm not sure yet, from Pittsburgh. When it comes to his production, he scored 63.32 in terms of explosives, first size 71.23 when it comes to sack market share production. And, well, actually, we'll go back. So, production-wise, he scored 63.32 in terms of solo tackle market share, 71.23 in terms of sack market share, and 93.47 when it comes to his tackle for loss market share. His main issues come to athleticism and age. His age score is 5.73, which doesn't hit any of the high-quality outcomes when it comes to that position. And his athleticism scored 37.88 when it comes to explosives first size, 40.04 when it comes to speed first size, but 77.12 when it comes to flexibility first size. He has an athletic skill set. He's very flexible for his size. He just isn't very explosive for his size, and he isn't very fast for his size. I think the best case scenario for Ejuan Price is that he becomes a long-term starter at the Sam linebacker / defensive end position. But he's not someone that I think can become a consistent All-Pro or consistent Pro Bowl player based on his athleticism traits and based on his age. So those are just the two factors that kind of limit him in terms of upside, his age and athleticism traits. So how do I feel about the Los Angeles Rams draft class? Well, it's a okay class. I think you got lots of players that have some potential to become starters. Gerald Everett is a guy that could become a starter. Kupp is a guy, obviously, that could become a starter. John Johnson has starter potential. Josh Reynolds has starter potential. Samson Ebukam has starter potential. Tanzel Smart has starter potential. And Ejuan Price has starter potential. And Sam Rogers has starter potential just because he's a fullback and he could start. But you didn't really get any players who hit all the marks that they need to hit in terms of high-quality outcomes long-term. And again, this is how I usually grade draft classes, is I'm looking at players and I'm saying, 1, can they become a starter? And 2, can they hit high-quality outcomes? Do they have the common data traits, the traits that the past great players have had at their position? And unfortunately, none of the players that you drafted share anything in common with the past players when it comes to high-quality outcomes, when it comes to guys who became multiple Pro Bowl players, and also the guys that become 3-time All-Pro players. So you don't really have any players in this class who can hit high-quality outcomes, and as a result, that's the only reason why this class is lacking, in terms of overall stuff. So I think you could be happy in the fact that you didn't get a lot of guys that are just going to be flat-out busts, because there were some drafts where some teams drafted guys that are just flat out not going to be much of anything at all based on their overall data. But I still think it's a bit of a disappointment. And yeah, you didn't get to draft in the first round and stuff like that, but there were high-quality players available in the rounds that they were drafting in. And unfortunately, they didn't really go for any of those types of players. They didn't address the offensive line as well, and this was a class that was fairly deep when it comes to interior offensive linemen. Not necessarily offensive tackles, but definitely lots of offensive guards that have lots of potential. So that's just my general feelings with the Rams class. I think you guys could have done better. You got guys who can at least come in and be starters, but they're not guys that I think are going to become high-quality players for you anytime soon. So, again, my name is James Cobern. You can follow my work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. If you like this content, if you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.